Okay, so thinking about a career as a leather goods hand-cutting operator. Talk about craftsmanship, right? We're diving deep into what it takes, how to nail those interview questions, and how RoleCatcher can, well, help you make the cut.
It's interesting. In this age of automation and everything, it's really those hand skills that make you stand out.
It's like you're bringing those designs to life. Speaking of hands-on, let's get into those interview questions. We've got 10 common ones from RoleCatcher's guides.
Yeah, let's start with that classic, tell me about your experience as a leather goods hand-cutting operator. Seems simple, but
This is your chance to shine, right? What are they really looking for?
they want to see that passion. Don't just say, I cut leather. Talk about the types of leather: calf skins, saddle leather, maybe some exotic skins, challenges, techniques you've learned. Like, have you ever had to adjust your technique based on the leather's thickness, maybe the grain?
So it's about showing your expertise right off the bat. Now, let's say a company specializes in high-end handbags.
Yeah.
How do you tailor your answer?
You want to highlight your experience with, more delicate leathers, lambskin, deerskin, maybe even some really detailed reptile skins. Talk about that precision, maintaining a steady hand, working with those intricate designs. You can even mention specific tools for those projects.
So you're speaking their language. Okay, question 2. How do you ensure the quality of your cuts?
That's about quality control.
This is where that meticulous side comes out. Every cut has to be perfect.
Right, but don't just say, I'm detail-oriented. Walk them through your process. How do you even inspect the leather before you start cutting? What are you looking for?
This is where you might mention any specific tools, right? Like a French skiver, a head knife for those really precise cuts.
Exactly. And don't just name drop, explain how you use them. I use a French skiver to carefully thin down areas that need to be flexible.
Showing them the why behind the what.
Exactly. And be ready for follow-up questions. How would you handle a piece of leather that didn't meet their standards?
Showing you can think on your feet. Okay, question 3. How do you prioritize and manage your workload?
Organization and staying calm under pressure. They need to know you can juggle multiple projects.
Things can get hectic. How do you approach this one?
I emphasize my system for staying organized, whether it's a planner, a to-do list, whatever works for you. But give a specific example. If I have multiple orders, I prioritize based on urgency and complexity.
So you're painting a picture for them.
And this is where you can bring in your experience, a time you managed a really tough workload, really showcase those skills.
Love it. Question 4. How do you ensure safety while using all those tools and equipment? That's crucial.
It is. They want to see that you understand safety protocols, that you're committed to following them.
So more than just listing off rules.
Right. You want to demonstrate a proactive approach. Before I even start cutting, I make sure my work area is clear, all my tools are in good shape, I wear my safety gear, obviously, and I'm mindful of my surroundings, especially with those sharp blades.
It's about everyone's safety, not just your own.
And be ready to discuss their specific protocols, handling sharp tools, disposing of leather scraps. Every workplace is different.
Exactly. Okay, question 5. How do you troubleshoot problems during the cutting process?
Everyone runs into challenges. They want to see that you can think critically.
So what are they looking for in a problem solver?
Someone who stays calm, analyzes the situation, and finds solutions. Structure your answer how you identify the problem, then your thought process for fixing it. Do you think back to past experiences? Talk to more experienced colleagues. Give a specific example. Maybe you had to adjust a cutting pattern on the fly, or you found a way to save a piece that would have been wasted.
Showing resourcefulness.
Right. Now, question 6. How do you stay up to date with the latest techniques?
The leatherworking world's always evolving. New materials, tools, the works. How do you show you're on top of it?
It's about that commitment to always learning. Do you read industry magazines? Follow leatherworkers online? Workshops? Conferences?
It's about that desire to improve.
Exactly. Maybe you learned a new technique recently, or you've been trying a new type of edge finishing. Share those experiences. Show your dedication.
And if you can connect that learning back to the job, even better.
Okay.
Question 7. How do you maintain your tools?
Maintenance.
Seems pretty straightforward. You keep your tools sharp, keep them clean. But what are they really getting at?
It's about more than just the basics. It shows respect for your tools, that understanding of how important they are.
So going beyond the obvious. Specifics.
Right. Instead of just, I sharpen my knives, say something like, I hone my blades every few hours to ensure a clean cut. I condition my cutting mat with leather-safe oil.
Those details make a difference. Now, before we move on, let's talk about RoleCatcher and how it can help with all of this.
Absolutely. One of the coolest things is their AI answer builder.
Yeah.
It helps you craft answers specifically for the job you want.
Okay, so how does that work?
You plug in the job description, and the AI looks for those key skills they want.
Like having someone analyze the job posting for you.
Yeah.
But how does that help me answer?
It gives you prompts and suggestions, so you hit those important points.
Like a personal interview coach.
Exactly. And it even looks at your responses, gives you feedback.
That's amazing. So helpful. Now, I know we've just scratched the surface here. We'll get into the rest of the questions in part 2, but before we go,
Yes.
your portfolio. You mentioned showcasing your work, and I know a lot of people wonder what to include.
Great question, and we'll definitely dig into that more later. But for now, think of it as letting your work speak for itself, showcasing your skills, your style.
So more than just a website or something.
Right. We'll talk about the different ways to present your portfolio, but let's take a quick break. We'll be back to tackle those last few questions and really explore what a career as a leather goods hand-cutting operator can look like. And we're back, talking all things leather goods hand-cutting operator. Picking up with those interview questions, number 8. How do you ensure accuracy and precision? When you're cutting leather, it's crucial.
Those steady hands. It's about convincing them you could, split a hair with those cuts.
Well, maybe not a hair, but close. You want to emphasize your precision, your understanding of the tools, the techniques, your focus. Those are repetitive tasks. Even the slightest wobble can really throw things off.
So how do you get that across? What do you say?
Talk about having the right tools. Sharp blades, accurate rulers, a good cutting surface. But it's more than that, right? It's knowing how to use them, how different leathers react to different blades.
It's almost like a conversation. You, the tool, the material.
Exactly. Get specific. Mention techniques using a French curve for those smooth lines, the right blade angle for a clean cut. Even your posture, your grip. Are you using your whole arm for leverage? Or just your wrist, which can get tiring.
Those little details. It's amazing how much goes into it.
It's true. And that's where practice really comes in. The more you work with leather, the more you develop that feel for the pressure, the angle, so you can make those accurate cuts consistently.
It becomes second nature. Okay. So you've shown them you've got the skills, but now they want to know you'll treat their materials right. Question 9. How do you ensure proper use and storage of leather?
This is your chance to show you get it, you understand the craft, you respect the materials.
Leather's not cheap. And these days, everyone's thinking about sustainability, right?
Exactly. So when you answer this, think about the whole life cycle of the leather. How are you protecting it from the moment it comes in to when it goes out as a finished product?
Okay, so break that down for us. What are some key things?
First of all, protect it from the elements. Sun and heat are no good, so store it somewhere cool, dry, away from direct light. And humidity, too much, you get mold, too little, it dries out and cracks.
It's like you're creating the perfect environment.
Right. And when you're handling it, be careful about creasing or folding it too much.
Yeah.
That can weaken it.
No shoving it in a drawer. What about cleaning? That's got to be important.
Absolutely. Use a gentle, leather-specific cleaner, nothing harsh. And if you're not sure, test it on a hidden spot first, or even ask a professional.
Good advice. So handling, storage, cleaning it all shows you get it, you respect the material, you want to minimize waste.
Exactly. And those are all things employers love to see. Ready for the last question in this section?
Give me.
How do you ensure the efficient use of leather to minimize waste? Sustainability is huge.
Absolutely. Nobody wants to see leather go to waste. How do you show you're on top of that?
Planning. You've got to maximize your materials. That might mean laying out your patterns carefully, using smaller pieces for details, even finding ways to use up those scraps.
I love that, repurposing scraps.
Right. You can make smaller things, keychains, luggage tags, even use them as design elements on bigger pieces.
So creative. But how do you avoid having so many scraps in the first place?
It goes back to that planning. Before you cut, really look at your pattern. Think about the best way to lay it out on the hide.
Like a leather jigsaw puzzle.
Exactly. And pay attention to the grain. Any natural markings, sometimes you can use those to your advantage, incorporate them into the design.
Turning those potential flaws into features.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment with different techniques, different layouts. See what works.
That drive to always be improving, that's great.
It's part of what makes this such a rewarding field.
Before we move on to the career path itself, I want to touch on RoleCatcher again. It's not just for interview prep, right?
Right. They have a ton of AI tools for your whole job search.
Yeah.
Like their resume builder.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
You put in your information and it helps you tailor it to each job you apply for.
That's amazing, like having a professional resume writer.
Exactly. It'll even pull out those key words from the job description so your resume actually gets seen.
So important. Okay, let's talk about where this career can take you. You aced the interview, got the job. Now what?
Well, you usually start with an apprenticeship or an entry-level position. You're learning the ropes, mastering those techniques.
Paying your dues.
Right. But as you get better, you can specialize. Maybe you focus on a certain type of product, handbags, saddles, whatever interests you. Or you become a master of a certain technique.
From basic belts to those incredible watch straps.
Exactly. And you can take on more responsibility, leading a team, training new people. Some people even go into quality control.
And there's the creative side too, right? Designing patterns,
Yeah.
finding interesting leathers.
So many possibilities. And having a great portfolio is key for that.
We are going to talk about that. But first, one more thing that often comes up in interviews, showing your passion.
So important. They want to see that you love what you do.
How do you get that across? Any tips?
Be genuine. Let that enthusiasm show when you talk about your work. Don't be afraid to geek out about the details, the projects you're proud of. Talk about what you're working on in your free time, books you've read, even other leather workers you admire. And ask questions. It shows you're engaged. You want to learn.
Passion is contagious, man.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're diving into portfolios, what makes them stand out, how to really grab those employers' attention.
And we are back, ready to dive into portfolios.
Let's do it.
We've talked about the skills, the experience. Now it's about showing it off, right?
Exactly. Think of your portfolio as your visual resume. High quality photos are key. You want those clean lines, those precise cuts, really showcase your skills.
So it's more than just snapshots. It's about capturing the details.
Right. Close-ups of the stitching, the edges, any hardware, anything that highlights your craft. And show a variety of projects: wallets, belts, bags, even smaller stuff like keychains.
So they can see you can handle different designs, different scales.
Yeah.
What about works in progress? Should those go in?
It depends. Sometimes it's cool to see the process, right? You could show a partially finished piece, maybe talk about a specific technique or a challenge you overcame.
It adds another dimension.
Mm.
Okay, so you've got the photos, maybe some works in progress. What else?
Think about adding sketches of your designs, or even some samples of different leather treatments you've done.
Like embossing, dyeing.
Exactly. Show off those skills. Now, how you present it all is important too.
Right. Physical portfolio, website, Instagram. What's best?
Honestly, you want it all. A physical portfolio is great for that tactile experience. They can feel the leather, see the stitching up close.
There's nothing like holding the real thing.
But having a website or an online portfolio means anyone can see it anytime. And social media is huge for this kind of thing.
It's like its own world now. So you really want to cover all your bases.
And don't forget to keep it updated. As you learn new things, as you create new pieces, add them in.
It shows you're constantly growing. Now, one last thing before we wrap up, and this is important for any job, but especially in a craft like this, presenting yourself professionally.
It's true. You've got the skills, you've got the portfolio, but you want to make a good impression in person too.
So what does that look like for a leather goods hand-cutting operator? What do you wear to an interview?
You don't need a suit and tie, but you also don't want to look like you just rolled out of bed. Think neat, clean, professional.
A nice shirt, some well-fitting pants.
Exactly. And pay attention to the details. Your shoes are clean, your hair is tidy. Those little things show you care.
It's like that attention to detail you bring to your work, but it's you.
Right. And body language is huge. Make eye contact. Try not to fidget. You want to seem confident and engaged.
A good firm handshake doesn't hurt either.
Absolutely. And smile. It goes a long way.
Okay, so we've talked about looking the part. What about sounding the part? How do you really sell yourself?
Be enthusiastic. Let that passion for leatherworking show. Talk about what you love about it, the materials, the tools, specific projects you're proud of. Ask questions too. Show them you're interested in their company, what they do.
That enthusiasm is contagious, and it makes you memorable.
And if they're open to it, bring some examples of your work.
That physical portfolio can make all the difference.
It really can. Just make sure it's okay with the company first.
Don't want any surprises. Well, I think we've covered it all. The skills, the interview, the portfolio, even how to present yourself.
Everything you need to know to get started in this amazing field.
It's a craft with such a rich history, and those hand skills are more valuable than ever.
Absolutely.
So if you're passionate about working with your hands, if you love that feeling of taking raw materials and creating something beautiful and lasting.
Then this could be the career for you.
We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of the leather goods hand-cutting operator. Don't forget to check out RoleCatcher for even more tips and resources to help you land that dream job. Until next time, happy crafting.